to Bristol University and the BRISOC team for inviting me here today. Yeah, it's an honour to be here and speak in front of you guys and I guess share some of my journey and some of the key learnings that I have taken over the last 15 years, alhamdulillah. Of course, I will start with a little introduction about myself, and thereafter I will share some of my journey. Some of you might have heard of it before, some of you might not have heard of it before, but we'll go through a brief journey of pin down? Pass. We'll go through a brief journey of how the Sunnamusk brand came about and how we got to where we are today. Alhamdulillah. So, just a little bit about myself. I'm 29 years old. If anyone follows me on social media, they know that I have an extreme passion and love for my cars. I do travel a lot. I go to a lot of holidays with my family and my friends. I like to enjoy it, alhamdulillah, and have a good time. Of course, Islam and my religion is very important and it's very dear to me. It's played a crucial part to both my personal life and my professional career, alhamdulillah. Family and friends, as I mentioned, a very, very important part of my life and very crucial to my journey. Just a little bit more of myself. I was born in 1994 in Bangladesh, and my family migrated here to the UK, to London in 1997. So my father was actually brought to London as an imam, so a very prestigious way to come to the UK. Alhamdulillah, and he was serving the deen for a very, very long time, and as do my older brothers as well. We didn't have any background in business, so none of my family members come from a wealthy background or from any sort of business experience. So, alhamdulillah, this is, our first family business and our first successful venture. So now we'll kind of get into where we are today. So, alhamdulillah, Sunnamusk has 36 stores now. We actually have 2 in Bristol, one in the Crips Causeway and one in the Cabot Circus, which we just recently opened. We are, alhamdulillah, present in 5 countries, which is the UK, the Netherlands, Germany, France, Sweden. We were founded in 2009, and alhamdulillah, we now employ over 260 people. And yeah, this is some imagery of some of our latest stores. This one here on the right is in Cardiff, and that one there is the Bristol Cabot Circus. So just to give you a little bit of a flavour on what the Sunnamusk brand looks like if you haven't seen it before. So, of course, it wasn't easy. So Sunnamusk, as a lot of you guys will know, started in the back of a boot, just like that in the smart car there you can see. And on the left you can see the market stalls here in Whitechapel. We started this business with a new capital of £600. And alhamdulillah, to this day, all of the growth that we've achieved has been organic growth from the original £600 investment. As mentioned in previous videos, and so some of you guys have seen some of our podcasts, we do not operate or use any banking instruments like credit card facilities or interest-based loans. So alhamdulillah, we have come a long way, but it wasn't easy at all. So we started off very, very small and in a very humble manner. So this is our journey. So, as mentioned, we moved to the UK in 1997, and we founded Sunnamusk in 2009. So it was launched with £600 capital, as mentioned. And on the first day of our market stall, we only made £28. So it was not easy, and the way a lot of people kind of perceive the brand today, that wasn't every day for sure. We went through a lot of struggle. One of our biggest breakthroughs was being in Westfield Stratford. So Westfield Stratford is a massive shopping centre in East London. And I remember when we were operating in a market stall, we saw this massive shopping centre opening up in Westfield Stratford. And we emailed the management team and we said, could we get a space to sell some of our products there? Back then we were not ready to be in a shopping centre like Westfield. It's a world-class shopping centre and we were only a market stall operator. But we had a lot of courage and we decided to do it anyway. So we sent an email to the management team and we said, by the way guys, we have a brand called Sunnamusk. We sell Middle-Eastern inspired fragrances, alcohol-free, modern-based fragrances. Would we be able to get a space? And to our surprise, they got back to us and they said, yeah, actually your concept looks very interesting. And so we'd like to come and meet you. So they sent one of their executives to come and meet us at one of our stores in Ilford. And one of the things that we used to always take a lot of pride and joy in was presentation and how we presented ourselves and how we carried ourselves. So I'll give you a small example. So when we were operating out at a market store in Whitechapel Market, we had things like name badges, we had uniforms, we had branding on the actual, you've seen on the last slide, we had our actual website in our market store. We had a colour-coded gazebo. Generally, usually, market store operators do not do that. They usually sort of get by with whatever is on the market stand. So the one learning from that is we always took pride and a lot of passion in what we did. And so that translated through and people were able to see that. So when the guy from Westfield came down to see us, he said, you know what, you guys are doing something different and we can see that. Although you are a very small market store operator, we can see the passion you have for the brand, we can see the enthusiasm, and we can see that you really believe in your product and your brand. So the conversation started going, and we kind of went back and forth for a long time, 6 to 9 months' time, and eventually, after a lot of chasing, a lot of persistence, and even turning up to Westfield's door to show how enthusiastic and how persistent we are, we eventually got a space in Westfield Stratford today, in 2011. Alhamdulillah, that is one of our most successful sites today. It's one of our busiest locations. And then we later opened an actual store in Whitechapel, so if anyone came to the East London Mosque, you'll see on the corner, we do have a flagship store for the Sunnamusk brand. And then moving on, we started obviously becoming a lot more established, and in 2017 we had our first TVC launch, which was the Abidur product, which is actually one of our top selling fragrances. And what we did was, again, because of the sheer passion and enthusiasm we had for the brand and what we wanted to do and the vision that we had, we were so eager to achieve it. So another example of this is, in 2017, we only had 3 locations. We were a very small company. We were a very, very small brand. But I remember back then, we put in all of our investment, all of our savings, all that we had into a TV commercial that we spent £10,000 to produce. Now, a lot of people might think you guys are crazy or that was such a stupid decision, because why would you do that? When you don't have a lot of money, why would you invest so much money into something that might not give you a lot of return? But as I mentioned earlier, we really believe in the power of branding, in the power of marketing, in the power of how you present yourself. And I think first impression is, as I say, first impression is the last impression. So we really took that seriously, and we invested in our brand from a very, very early stage, and we really believe that it will pay off in the long run. And that just shows that you've got to have longevity in this. You've got to really believe in the long-term vision. This is not something you build over a few months and you make a quick buck and that's it. This is a lifetime of working. We've had to really graft and grind, and yeah, we had to have our skin in the game. Like, we really believed in our vision and our brand. So we kind of did that, and then 2019 came along, which was our 10-year anniversary. Again, at this point, we were still pretty small. We still had around 4 or 5 locations. And we celebrated our 10-year anniversary in the level 39 of Canary Wharf. We invited all of our friends and our supporters and everyone that kind of helped us on our journey along the way to come and celebrate that milestone with us. And this is where it gets interesting, really, 2020 onwards. So 2020, everyone knows and everyone has experienced the pandemic and when the lockdown started to happen. At that moment, me and my brother were sat in our bedroom, actually, and we looked at each other and we said, we've worked the last 11 years for this brand, and we've put our blood, sweat and tears into this, and this lockdown is now happening. We might lose this all. You know, this could all just go away. And it was a very stressful moment for us, and it was a very stressful time. And as business people, as entrepreneurs, you have to be very dynamic, and you have to be quick at making decisions, and you have to react very fast. And so that's what we did. So we were sat there in our bedroom brainstorming ideas on how do we navigate around this situation. You know, our shops are being asked to close in the next few weeks. We don't know if we're going to have to pay rent. We don't know if we're still going to have to pay our staff. How are we going to afford to pay our staff as a small business? How do you afford to maintain all that? So what we did was we came up with an idea of creating oud-based hand sanitizers, because I don't know if you guys remember, but at the time there was a shortage for hand sanitizers and everyone was going crazy to buy hand sanitizers on eBay and people were reselling it and it was all crazy. So we thought, let's kind of take that situation and let's leverage it to our advantage. So we created a product called oud-based hand sanitizer. We spoke to our manufacturer and we said, look, we need your help. And can you make us this hand sanitizer in a very short amount of time? Alhamdulillah, they agreed. And we all got together. Actually, a lot of my friends helped me along the journey, but we created those hand sanitizers. We brought it back from our manufacturing facility, brought it to our offices in East London, and we put it on our website. And we sold those hand sanitizers all throughout COVID. And I think it's key to mention this because in businesses you face a lot of issues, you face a lot of setbacks, but it's not about the issue that comes along your way, it's how you react to it and how you address it and how you adapt to it. And so in that situation we were able to come up with that idea which paid off really well. Actually what we did was we sold those hand sanitizers at a cost price. And the reason for that was we wanted to stay relevant. We wanted to make sure that even throughout the lockdown, even throughout this whole period, people knew about the Sunnamusk brand. And what actually ended up happening was, once people were buying sanitizers, they also bought a perfume product with it. So although we didn't make any money on the actual hand sanitizers, people actually ended up buying the fragrance, which actually worked out really well. So just a little bit more on the pandemic. A lot of people kind of take adversity very negatively. I think it's all about your mindset and how you approach adversity. So this was one example of how we kind of leverage a situation to take or to make best of it. Another example that I can share along our journey is so when the COVID pandemic happened, before that, a lot of the shopping centres that we wanted to try and get space to get shops in and retail leases, they were very difficult because shopping centres are very high in demand. They're very picky in terms of who they take, what brands they want, you know, the tenant mix, so on and so forth. So they used to be very, very picky in terms of who they take and who they give the space to, because these are some of the biggest and the best shopping centres in the UK. Examples like the Trafford Centre in Manchester, or Westwood London in White City, or you know, many other Bullring in Birmingham. So these shopping centres were very hard to get into as a small brand. And so before that we used to try, and it was a big struggle. What happened in the pandemic was these shopping centres actually struggled a lot to recoup their rents of their tenants. So again, we identified that as an advantage to us. We said, right, if these shopping centres are struggling to let spaces or recoup their rents, there is a very good chance that we can approach them and we can actually get really good deals on these leases. And so that's what we did. We approached the shopping centres and we got really, really good deals throughout the pandemic on very prime time retail locations. And alhamdulillah, that was one of the biggest reasons why we grew after the pandemic. We took a lot of sites through lockdown and after lockdown, and we were able to open these sites at a very low cost, low price, by using simple strategies like procuring the shop fit out from Far East in China, because it is quite cost effective to get things like that from the Far East. So it was a combination of leveraging the situation and being smart with our investment and our money, and being able to procure those shop fittings and fixtures. We were able to open quite a few sites at a very low cost, and that's actually how we grew. So between the years of 2020 and 2023, alhamdulillah, we went from 3 or 4 locations to around 25 locations, alhamdulillah. So again, that was as a result of sheer hard work, putting in the graft, working every single day, even throughout the lockdown. We didn't take a day off. We were in the offices working, and we just had to do what we needed to do in order to make it work. So alhamdulillah, COVID was actually surprisingly quite a positive period for us. We're now in 2024. We have now started to expand out into different parts of Europe. So, as I mentioned earlier, we are in France, in Paris. We are in the Netherlands, in Amsterdam, and in other places like Den Haag, and also in Sweden, places like Stockholm, and other parts of Europe as well, in Germany as well. And the reason why we wanted to do that is because we feel like our product is still an untapped niche within this space. So just to give you a bit of, just to take you back a little bit, when we started Sunnamusk in 2009, in the market stores, people would say to us, "You're selling perfume oils. That's like a very Muslim product. This is not going to go far. This is something that people buy when they go to Hajj or Umrah. You know, there's not a real big market for this." And we were very convinced that we could market and brand this product in a way that would be likable by the wider market and wider audience. Happy to say, alhamdulillah, roughly 50% or more of our customers are of non-Muslim background. So we were able to take this product, which is originally seen as a very Muslim product, and be able to market it in a way where it's likable and accessible by everyone. Because at the end of the day, it is fragrance, and everyone can wear fragrance. Although it's alcohol-free, a lot of the fragrances, the only thing that it means is that it lasts a lot longer on your skin. So we took that advantage and we marketed that. We were able to make this, alhamdulillah, a nationwide and hopefully soon a global brand. Now I see a lot of people using our products as gifts, whether that's in weddings or celebrations and anniversaries. So alhamdulillah, it's become a lifestyle brand, and we were able to do that over the course of 15 years. Alhamdulillah. Teamwork makes the dream work, but working with family is better. I know there's a sort of misconception, or there's a thing that's always said that, you know, you shouldn't mix business with pleasure, or you shouldn't do business with family. But I believe that that was one of our advantages. You know, we were 5 brothers, and every one of us had a different skill set, and we're able to bring that together and really utilize that and use it to our advantage. And having family around you means that it's people that care for you, that will look out for you. So yes, if you have family members that are skilled in a way, then yeah, there is no harm in working with family. The one thing I will say though, is that from day one, even though we were very close as brothers, you know, there's a saying in Islam, you know, deal in business as if you're strangers. And that's one thing we always did, you know, whether that was contracts, or whether that was signing agreements, or whether that was writing meeting minutes and getting every brother to sign it. We did that from day one because we believed in that, you know. End of the day, this is business, and as much as you have a familiar relationship, you also have to have a professional relationship and make sure everything is above board and everything is clean cut. And yeah, there shouldn't be anything hidden. You know, if you do something with your friends or your family, in fact, you should go out of your way to make it even more clear, because you don't want to ruin a relationship over business. You know, I would never want to ruin my relationship with my brothers because of a business transaction. So alhamdulillah, we go out of our way, we make sure everything is in the clear, everything is done by the books, it's written, it's signed. So work with family, but keep it professional. So this is, I guess, a topic that I want to touch on. How has religion played an impact to my personal life and my professional life in terms of my business? So, of course, as you guys might have noticed, Sunnamusk is got a word in there, which is sunnah, which is inspired by the literal word, which means habit, but also the Prophet ﷺ used to love mosques and fragrances, and so we wanted to honour that in a way and keep that within our legacy. So that was always a core part of the business. And again, as mentioned, this is something that is deep within all of the brothers. This whole religious aspect in terms of being from an Islamic background, from being from a quite conservative family that my father was quite religious. Things like banking instruments and credit cards and loans and things like that were never an option to us. So it was kind of part of the core foundation of the business to have that within its framework. So a lot of influence within the business for sure. How it helped the business? So we believe in barakah, of course. We definitely feel like as a result of us doing things the right way, doing things the halal way, being very transparent in business, not cheating people, not deceiving people, not mis-selling any products, has helped us. It's given us a lot of barakah in our business, because we don't want to. We don't need to do that. If you have a genuinely good product and you know how to sell it and you know how to market it, you don't need to do anything like that. So, of course, we believe in barakah, and we know that we've had a lot of barakah in our business, because in normal cases it's not possible to achieve or become a £20 million business from a £600 startup. It's not so easy, so I definitely think there was a lot of barakah along the way. Hurdles faced because of religion. Now, this is something that's very important to me, because we face this all the time. So, being in an industry which was traditionally or conventionally marketed in a way where I guess sexual appeal or that kind of romanticizing of fragrance is very, very much a cool part of how brands used to advertise fragrance. That was a limitation for us. Of course, we don't want to do it, but at the same time, this is the standard of the industry. So we had to be very careful in the sense that we are not using anything like nudity or any explicit photography or videography in any of our branded advertising. So that was a limitation, but alhamdulillah, we work around that. And even if we do work with influencers that are sometimes not so modest, if they're working with us, we ask them to be modest. So in any of our sort of advertising and marketing, we try and maintain that. That's definitely a challenge. Again, capital is a big challenge. Of course, any business wants to sometimes be agile and have access to bank funding or loans to further accelerate the growth. Again, of course, like I said, that wasn't available to us, so we had to do the hard graft and find other routes to really work that. Sometimes we have to ask friends and family, like, can you lend us £5,000 and we'll pay you back in 4 weeks, and interest-free loans, of course. So we had to do that the hard way. And then, of course, religion, how religion shaped me personally. So, alhamdulillah, I went to an Islamic school, I went to madrasa, I studied 5 years, actually more than 5 years in an Islamic madrasa, and I learned the Quran and a lot of the Alamiya subjects. So, I think, although I'm not perfect, I'm nowhere near perfect, I don't pretend to be perfect, it is deep within me, and it's good to know what's wrong from right and what's right from wrong. So I say that as long as you know if you're doing something wrong, as long as you know you're doing wrong and you have a plan to kind of correct that, that's a good position to be in, and knowing that where you're going wrong. So alhamdulillah, that's very deep within me. I try and do the right things, but when I do the wrong things, I also know inside my heart that this is wrong, and it's something to try and improve on and work on. So we try and do that. Alhamdulillah, no one's perfect, but we try. Alhamdulillah. What does our religion say about business and entrepreneurship? The first one is a quote. So it says, once the prayer is over, disperse throughout the land and seek the bounty of Allah, and remember Allah often, so you may be successful. So this is sort of and then of course you'll know that many of the companions of the Prophet ﷺ were businessmen, which include Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, Umar radiallahu anhu, Uthman radiallahu anhu, and Abu Rahman bin Auf radiallahu anhu. So the Prophet's close companions were businessmen. And so I think that should also inspire us that if we have ambitions to become an entrepreneur or be a businessman, then we should follow that, because it's within our religion, it's within the guidance of our religion, and that's a very important thing. And then also Abu Sa'id narrated that the Prophet ﷺ said, the truthful, trustworthy merchants is with the prophets, the truthful and the martyrs. This is very, very important, because as a businessman, as an entrepreneur, you are basically getting the ranks of some of the highest regarded people in the Islamic religion. And that is such a good opportunity for us to kind of be involved in, because if you're a businessman, if you're an entrepreneur, and you can be trustworthy and truthful and not cheat people and not deceive people, and do things the right way, above board, then it's a win-win. You make money in this world, you get the dunya, and also you get the akhirah. So why would you not? So I would encourage anyone that wants to get into business to get into business, because if you do it the right way, there are a lot of rewards in this world and in the akhirah. So these are some of the problems you'll face along the way, which I've faced. Burnout and exhaustion. Everyone knows that as a business person, as an entrepreneur, it's not like a 9 to 5. You do have to work outside of hours, nighttime, daytime, early hours, sometimes 7 days a week in the early stages of your business. So we used to do market school 6 days a week. We used to do an event on the 7th day. So we had to graft and we had to grind. So there is time that you'll find that you are burnt out or you are exhausted. That's where you have to be very persistent and very resilient and very strong-minded and overcome that. You have to be prepared for the journey. I think an important part of joining the road of entrepreneurship is to be prepared for the challenges that come along your way. So it's not as fancy as it seems, as sometimes people like to make it on Instagram and on social media. It is quite a dark journey sometimes. It is a very big struggle sometimes, and you do get burnt out. And that leads on neatly to the next point, which is work-life balance. This is an interesting one, because I like to try and have work-life balance, because I like, as you've seen in previous slides, I like to travel. I like to drive my cars. I like to go out to restaurants and eat food and all the normal stuff that everyone likes to do. But it is very hard. Work-life balance is something that you have to manage yourself. I would say in the early days, in the early stages of the business, it's probably out the window, because you have to work very hard for a very long time. But as you start to get a little bit more established, and you have employees within the business, and you have a team that's running your vision, that's when you can slowly start to pull out a little bit and try and have a work-life balance. I think it's very important. I think it's genuinely very important to have a work-life balance. It is important to enjoy your life, because ultimately you're working very hard. So reap some of those rewards along the journey. Number 3 is dealing with setbacks. So in business, whichever business you're in, it doesn't matter what it is, you will find setbacks, and you will be dealing with many, many problems. But it's how you deal with those. And I gave a clear example of that during the COVID period and how we dealt with that. So you will find many, many more issues like that and many, many more situations like that. So it's how you approach it and how you deal with it. Again, you have to be very strong-minded, you have to be consistent, and you have to be very determined to overcome those issues. So, yeah, that's some of the problems you will face along the journey. So, as we kind of slowly come towards the end of my presentation and my journey, these are some of the key tips that I would like to leave with you guys. So, number one is acknowledge and be self-conscious of your shortcomings and weaknesses. Delegate to professionals, even if it costs money. So I think one of the things that everyone likes to do when they're starting a business, and we did it as well, is that you want to do everything yourself because you want to save money, of course. Everyone wants to save money, right? So it's very easy to get into this cycle of trying to save money and trying to do everything yourself and not getting the results or what you want out of the thing that you are trying to achieve. So what I've learned over the last 15 years is that you've got to be very realistic with yourself. Like, you know when you're not good at something. Just know when you're not good at that something and get somebody else involved, a professional involved. If you have to pay someone, then fine, pay for it. But it will be worth that investment because by you trying to do it, and doing it over and over and over again, you would have wasted a lot more time and a lot more money and a lot more effort in trying to get that same thing done. Whereas if you started and done it in a professional way and got someone else to do it, we would have probably solved that problem a long time ago. So yeah, be self-conscious, know where your skills are and know where your skills end, and partner with people. If someone else is good at something, then leverage their skills. But yeah, don't be a know-it-all and can do it all, because that never works out. So, there is no shortcut to success. Do things properly and put the full effort in. You get what you pay for. Again, a lot of things that I see on social media these days, on Instagram, is that people want to get rich really quickly. They want to build their businesses. It's become like kind of like a fantasy of some sort. But there is no shortcuts, unfortunately. And in our example, and in a lot of other examples, I've also listened to many podcasts of other brands and how they've done it. In my experience, in my learnings, there is no shortcut, unfortunately. You have to work, you have to put the effort in, you have to work really, really, really hard, tirelessly for a long amount of time, months and years. If you're in it for the quick buck, for a quick return, you're not going to build a brand. There are ways to make quick money, but there's no longevity in it. And what we do is we look for longevity in what we do. In every sort of venture that we want to take in the future, it's to leave a legacy. And in the case of Sunnamusk, we want to build a brand that's owned by Muslims, but that's used worldwide by customers from all across the globe. And we can sort of leave that legacy behind. I think that's kind of what we're trying to pioneer. So when you are trying to do that, there isn't a shortcut, unfortunately. So yeah, take your time, do things properly. And last thing is, again, I'll mention social media again because I see a lot of negativity on social media. People kind of make this assumption, or sometimes they try to hint that there is some sort of contradiction between having a lot of wealth and being on deen. For some reason, if you're on deen, you can't have a lot of money. That's kind of the impression that people give, which is totally not true, because we know that's, as mentioned previously, the Sahabas were business people, some of them were very, very wealthy. So don't let people kind of tell you that, and it's not true. As long as you are spending your wealth wisely and in a halal manner on the right things, there is nothing wrong with that. You can actually make a lot of positive impact in the world by having a lot of wealth, whether that's by, funding schools or funding madrasas or doing charity work and philanthropy and, supporting good causes that help the deen and our religion. So I think having a lot of successful entrepreneurs and businesses is very, very, very important. And I would actually encourage people to do it more, because we need more business people. We need more businesses that are on a global standard. And I know, you guys have seen what's happened recently with Palestine and the whole Gaza situation. And, you look at the workout list, practically everything is on the workout list. So what do you go and buy? So, we need people to come forward and to build businesses that support the right things, that support the right cause, that stand on the right side of history. Alhamdulillah, we've been supporting Palestine and Gaza for a number of years, and we will continue to do that. And that's what you can do as a result of being in business and having access to that resource. So there is no contradiction between wealth and deen, as long as it's utilized properly. So don't be afraid of the people that make it seem that way. And also, it is mentioned within our religion that having a nice home is okay if you can afford it. Having a nice car is okay if you can afford it, and if you're giving your zakat and you're doing your fulfillments in terms of your family and everything else. As long as you're comfortable and it's not outside of your means and it's not very excessive, then it's okay to enjoy those things and enjoy the dunya as well in a halal way. So there's no contradiction, and I believe that is my last tip. So thank you, everyone. I hope you found this insightful and helpful. And I believe they can ask questions through this link, right? Is that correct? Yes, the left one. So if you guys want to scan the code on the left, and if you want to ask any questions, you can. I'll give you a few minutes to send in those questions. We might pick between two, so we might take some from the actual messages that you send in, but we might also ask some people to ask questions in person as well, because I do feel like we want to engage with the people as well.
Also, the sisters and brothers go around giving out the samples. Inshallah, the sisters will handle the sister sides and brothers right now.
There's no
a bit of silence so we can hear one another. And the question is answered. Hopefully you guys have got the Sunnamusk samples, so everyone leaves with a Sunnamusk fragrance tonight. And as mentioned, later we'll be doing 2 fragrance draws, lucky winners of one for the sisters and one for the brothers. So someone will also leave with a full-size fragrance, inshallah. So there's a lot of questions, and I'm going to try and pick some of the most interesting ones, or the ones that I feel like will be quite beneficial or relevant, and of course we'll take some more questions from you guys as well. So the first one that I'm going to go for, so someone said, could you discuss some key roles that people play in your business, examples of supply chain management, quantity surveying, marketing? So I think that's a quite a good question, because businesses are quite complex and it's hard to know who to hire and who not to hire, what team members you need on your organizational chart, so on and so forth. So I guess you have the key departments within a business that you must have, things like finance, and things like supply chain or procurement, as in people buying the products. You've got to have a sales team, of course, and you've got to have an operations team as well. So I think these are the key components that any business needs to have. But of course, as you get more complex, you have tons and more roles that come into the business. Like we have now head of property acquisitions, we have supply chain department, we have an HR department, we have an operations department, we have a warehouse department, we have a new product development team. So as you start to get more complex, you kind of assess the needs of the business and you recruit based on that. By then, hopefully, you would have had some experienced team members on your team. Like generally, operation managers can give a lot of value in terms of what kind of team members you need to have on the team by seeing the skill gaps. So there's no like a perfect answer, but it's dependent on the needs of the business. But I think the core function needs to be there. So one of the sisters I believe has asked, how do you balance studying academia and running your own business? Of course, I can understand that's going to be very, very hard, because studying takes a lot of time, a lot of dedication, and a lot of attention as well. And equally, business takes a lot of time and attention. So I think it's, like I said, it's very important to be self-conscious and self-aware. If you feel like you won't be able to commit to a full-time business, then perhaps start as a part-time business, because that's also what we did. We initially started off as a part-time business that we used to go on the weekends and evenings that were free. So my brother used to work a full-time job, so around his full-time job we'd find opportunities to do that. So perhaps doing a part-time business that you could start as a more slower start, maybe online, digitally, or on the weekends, events, things like that. Or if that isn't possible, if that doesn't fit, then I would say partnering with someone that has a lot of time. You can find a partner that can support you when you're studying or when you're not available, and if you have that kind of clear, then I'm sure you'll be able to support each other and get the business off the ground. A lot of people are asking if we're recruiting for the Bristol branch. That's a good question. I think we actually are, so I'll try and share something with these guys. If there are any roles, maybe they can share that information with you guys and we can hopefully try and get you in. So how do you navigate conversations with influencers on being more modest? Good question. It is a very difficult one, actually. And I would say in the initial days, in the earlier days of our journey, it was a lot harder, because who are you to kind of demand someone to do something? So you just have to be a bit more careful who you select and be a bit more selective. But I think as you become a bigger brand and you have a more of a established name within the market, if you ask, like, look, this is our ethos, you know, we're a modest brand and we don't believe in X, Y, and Z. These people are also professionals. They work with many different brands and many different requirements. So they're open to hearing as well, like, what are your brand requirements? So we have a brand guide. So on our brand guide, we say, this is how to take pictures, how not to take pictures, how to do this, how to do that. And I think, again, if you make that clear in a very professional way, then they will understand. Again, someone asked, how do you get around riba, I guess interest-free loans and interest-free finance? To be honest, it's not very easy. It is very difficult. And like I said, for us, so far, we had to rely on getting loans of friends and family that were able to help and just kind of being quite persuasive and selling the vision and the brand. And we were able to get by this way. And I know now there is a lot more sort of Islamic finance banks that are coming out, and there are a few banks in the UK that are now slowly starting to pop up. And I think in the future, hopefully, it will get easier. There is a concept in Islam called diminishing musharaka, which is a halal way of financing. So if you look into that, you'll be able to learn more. I don't think this is an opportunity that right now I won't be able to explain exactly what it is, but if you look into Islamic finance, there are some banks and some products that are coming available soon. So it will become easier, hopefully, inshallah. So let's take some from the people and then we'll go back to these questions. I know this problem will come to you afterwards, inshallah. Yes, so good question. So the brother asked, a lot of people or brands retail their products via places like as an academy and other retailers. Do we do that, or do we have any plans to do that? So we didn't want to limit ourselves to the niche of just Muslim customers, and that's why we decided to be in shopping centres where you can find all sorts of customers. So as a result of that, we wanted to do our own distribution, so we sold only through our own stores and our own retail outlets. The reason for that is because we were able to control the shopping environment, make it look how we want, present the product how we want, how do we talk to the customers, how do we sell to the customers and experience as a journey. So we wanted to really control and maintain that, and so we didn't want to give it to the hands of someone else to do that for us. So for the last 15 years, we haven't sold it through anyone because we wanted to protect our brand and we really took care of it. Now, however, we are looking to get into distribution, but that would be probably through mainstream retailers like your, Selfridges, John Lewis, some of the department stores. These are the kind of brands that we want to kind of retail through and associate ourselves with, because we believe we've built a product that's of a global level. And we want to kind of give it that sort of respect that it needs. Not to say that the places are not good enough, but it's just a matter of brand positioning and brand association. So hopefully that answers your question. And thank you that you enjoyed the session. The sister there.
Okay, I just wanted to know
diminishing musharaka. Diminishing musharaka. Is that okay? Yeah, sorry.
My name's Ahmed. I'm a site for almost version now. I just want to say, like 3 years ago, I remember driving in Egypt and also in the podcast with Rafi.
Okay.
And Sunnamusk was like completely different, 6 people, I think.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's really good to see in person. My question is, you were talking about going global even more than now. So, and you're considering even VCs and like external funding. So, how do you think this can affect the business?
Yes. So the brother's question is that we are planning to expand globally. How do you see that happening, and how do you see the involvement of venture capital or taking external funding or investment? So yes, this is something that we have been considering, and we have been sort of thinking in our heads. How do we take Sunnamusk to the global stage? You know, we want to be places like New York. We want to be places like Singapore, in Hong Kong, in Tokyo, as far as Tokyo. You know, we are very ambitious, and we want to take this brand global. We mean it when we say it. And so how do we do that? Because our expansion is very investment heavy. Every store costs a lot of money. You know, you have to pay a lot for a lot of things. So, of course, since bank loans are not available to us, the only other avenue is to actually take investors on board and to sell some of the shares and some of the equity in the business in order to finance the growth. So that is something we are considering. One of the concerns we have with that is we wouldn't want to partner with anyone that will have conflicting interests in terms of our deen. You know, we wouldn't want someone to come in and say, well, you should do it that way, why are you not doing this, or why are you not doing that? So I think one of the things that we are being very careful with is wherever we do talk, and we haven't decided whether we're going to do it yet or not, by the way. It's something that we're thinking about. But one of the things that we have to be careful with, number one, is the money legit? And also, are they going to partner with us in a way where they get along with us and they understand what we're trying to do here, you know? Because a lot of people won't. They'll be like, why don't you do that? Why are you not advertising this? Or what's wrong with it? Or why are you not taking this back? It's just so simple and so easy. So it's for them to understand where we come from as a family, who we are, and what we are trying to do. And let's see, you know, if that aligns at some point in the near future, we will potentially look to do that to really accelerate that growth.
Okay, so I'm curious, now you mentioned equity-based financing. A lot of those VC firms would be thinking about the eventual possibility that you sell your company, right? So are there ethical and moral considerations about who you would and would not sell that company to at the end of the day?
100%. So the conversations that we're having right now, the advisors that are looking into the private equity or venture capital or family office or whatever you want to call it, are very well aware of who we are and what we're trying to do. So they are actively then approaching people who then they feel like will fit with us. So for example, there is an investment fund that's based out of Saudi Arabia who is looking to actually currently invest in UK companies that are ethical and halal. So that's actually, in that case, a perfect fit because they're also looking to do something that is not outside of Sharia. So there are possibilities where you can do that, and it is possible if you look in the right direction. Of course, I've had other conversations with other people, and they're like, oh no, it's not possible, you know. You have to use the usual instruments, and so private equity usually has some sort of loan within it, you know, all that kind of stuff. And we shut those conversations down because we're not going to compromise, you know, we're not going to say we need the money so now we have to do it. No. If it's an open door for us, then we'll pursue it. If it's not, then that's fine for us. You know, we'll see what lies in store for us. Yeah.
So in the early stages of your growth, I'm wondering how you filtered out people who could grow the vision with you and how you motivated them to work towards sort of selling the product with you, etc.
Very good question, actually, because in my experience, throughout the growth of Sunnamusk, you've got to pick the right people. The people are so important. You know, the people that you choose to bring along your journey and give them the key roles. You've got to be very careful when you're selecting them because it's hard to get someone out of the seat when you put them in there. So I think you've got to be a good judge of character. You've got to know the person. You've got to take the time in picking the person wisely. And you've got to test them as well. Don't just give them the full piece of the cake straight away, like, oh, this is your role, you're head of this. No. You know, give them the small tasks and say, let's see how you get on with this. And then let's see how you get on with this. And then you test them and you test them. And once they prove that they are able to do it, then you give them the role that they deserve. Because there are people that are were along our journey that we outgrew. And that can happen. It happens a lot. You know, when you're growing a brand, there's certain people that are along the journey that have got a certain skill set. And when your brand outgrows that, you do need someone of a higher skill set. And that's completely normal. And I think it's a conversation. You know, I've had conversations with people and being completely frank and honest. you know, where we say, look, right, we love you, and you know, we've had a very good relationship, but from this point onwards, I don't think this kind of works. And you kind of leave it very amicably and in a very good professional way, and as long as there's a mutual understanding, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Request follow-up. So just in terms of like the first few employees that you had, did you sort of pay them a salary, or was it sort of commission-based? Or?
Yes, so we did a combination of both, because as you know, starting a business is hard to pay people a fixed salary.
Yeah.
So what we used to say is, you know, people that used to work for us in market stores or in pop-ups in shopping centres, we used to say, right, we'll give you a minimum base salary, and then we'll give you a nice little healthy commission of whatever you sell. So then they do have something to feed off, but also they can get the top up in terms of how hard they work. So you've got to be fair, right? You know, you can't just, you know, if they're only on commission, if they don't make a sale in that day, they're going to be so demoralized and demotivated, they might not even turn up to work the next day. So I think you've got to have a good balance of the both. So hopefully that answers the question. This is up there when to ask the question. Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, like, let's start when you started your business. Most of us, I assume, we are studying degrees where we have parents and families who often like, this is the career we want you to do, expect you to do, so if you suddenly say we're going to start a business, I feel like sometimes it can come with a bit of like a backlash. So I just wanted to ask what kind of advice you would give for us, especially as like Muslims, and how to kind of convince our families that doing a business is something good, and if we decide to not do the career maybe they want us to do and pursue business full time, how would you go about it?
Yeah, good questions. This is to ask, you know, it's quite difficult sometimes to convince our families, and you know, with a lot of the commitments that we have, how do you kind of take that leap and get into business, and how do you convince them? Is that the question?
Yeah, because like we often have like we want to expect you to do this kind of career.
Yes. So a lot of people want people to get into careers and have a career in whatever kind of profession that they want their family to be in. Good question. I think that is a combination of having a little bit of courage and having a little bit of conviction in your own belief and in what you want to do. Because ultimately, you have to be able to convince them and prove them and show them that, right, whatever I want to do, I have thought about this, I have thought this through, you know, there is a plan in place. You know, obviously some people kind of just do something off on an emotional tangent or something like that. You don't want to do that. Obviously you want to be sure that this is what you're going to do. As I mentioned earlier, entrepreneurship is not easy. You know, everyone knows this, you know how hard it is. So you have to have proven to your family that you've considered all those options. How are you going to fund yourself? You know, are you going to be okay? Do you need a part-time job to fund yourself whilst you're doing the business? What are all those eventualities and how do you mitigate them? So I think if you're well thought and if you've considered all those options and all the things that you think are a risk, and if you believe in what you want to do, you've got to kind of take that courage and be quite bold about it and say, right, I'm going to do this. Because let's be honest, it's somewhat easier to be comfortable and say, you know what, I've got a job or I've got my degree and I'm just going to kind of get a job and I'm going to work. That is so much easier. It is, you know, everyone prefers to be more comfortable. It's a safer route, let's be honest. It does take a bit more. You have to be a bit more risk averse to go into the world of business. So yeah, have your vision and what you want to do well thought about, and if you truly believe in it, you're going to have a bit of courage and take that leap of faith and just do it. Really.
How do you know when it's time to give up in your business, or whether it's just like a challenge that you have to go through?
Sorry.
How do you know whether it's just like whether it's time to give up, or whether it's just a challenge that you have to pursue?
Okay, so how do you know when to give up, right? Good question. That is very hard, because when you put your heart and soul and you put a lot of effort into something and you really want it to work and you're convinced it's going to work, it's hard to really kind of just walk away from it. But I think, again, you know, going back to my point earlier about being self-conscious and self-aware, you've got to know where your limitations are or where your skill sets end. And if you are just kind of being delusional in the sense that you think something's going to happen, a miracle is going to happen, and there's no route for you to make that work, you've got to put an end to it. because ultimately it might cost you your sanity, and you might, you might end up in, all sorts of worse situations. So you've got to kind of put an end to it. When you know that it's not viable, you've tried your best, you've done everything that you can, you've exhausted all the routes. You've got to know when to say, right, this is it. So I think it's a bit of self-discipline as well. We'll just do a few more, inshallah, from our journey. And yeah, I also want to quickly mention, if you guys could join the group chat on the right, which is the Bristol Education Group. You guys will be able to access a lot more information on what they're up to. So please do scan that and try and join that group. I'm sure it will be very, very beneficial. The last thing we're going to do is we're going to do the Bible, which is very, very the fun bit, basically. So should we do it? I can do it, but you need to bring the wheel up. So what we've done is we've loaded all the names of the people that have signed up, and we've put them on two wheels, right? I wonder. So what we're giving away is a golden dust 100 ml EDP, which is worth £110 for the sisters. And we're giving away an Abidur EDP, which is worth £65 for us, slightly less. So I just click anything, right? Zoom. Let's go.
Ready.
Okay, and then let's go for the second one. If it doesn't turn out to be a female name, you have to do it again. Let's go. Amazing. I hope you enjoy it, and again, it's gone for us, inshallah. The last thing I'll say is if you guys are around in Cabinet Circus, we're right by Tanker, so do come in and pay us a visit. We've got a shop there, an actual shop, and in Cribs Causeway, we also have a kiosk, a special stand outside the boots on the upper floor. So do pay us a visit and try some of our products if you haven't already. And yeah, share the word, and hopefully you guys have had a lot of benefit from this. Jazakallah khairan, and thank you for having me.
One quick thing for in terms of the week. Tomorrow we have sister circles. So if you're interested in that, want to know more like sisters in Ghana. We have groups on Thursday. We take off the doors. We bring Maghrib with it. We'll have stuff to do on the passport. If you're interested, reach out. I'll call back on the screen.